Take your mind into the wonderful world of physical, emotional, psychological, and spiritual wellness. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Kinetic Hour. Conversations with you and guests. With your host, Kenan, Wesley, Mason. That's me.
On the other hand, they didn't want that. They wanted people that looked like me to be as dumb as possible, uneducated as possible, unliterary as possible. But Nikki Haley didn't know that, or at least that's what she made it appear, that she didn't know why the Civil War existed and took place over a 4-year period. But I think because of that got her more endorsements because she's gaining on the Donald. So it may be that it might be Nikki Haley taking on the Donald versus the Donald and Ron DeSantis, who's actually losing traction. You know, the governor of Florida. The one that had the debate a couple of months ago with the governor of California right here, Governor Gavin Newsom. And if you go back and look at that debate, you could see the contrast between the two. The contrast, not only in presentation, but in the intelligence quotient as well. Ron DeSantis and Nikki Haley and the Donald. And the Donald is, as usual, still in denial about everything. Everything is horrible. You know, it's horrible. So horrible what's happening. America's going to hell. That's what he always says. America's going to hell. Wow. And that's the president that we want. America's going to hell. And he's the one that's going to fix it and make America look more angelic. Okay. Well, tell the people that stormed that Capitol building on his behalf 3 years ago. At this time, actually, right? It's been almost 3 years. Actually, it's been over 3 years now. We're talking about the 3rd anniversary of the infamous January 6th attack on a federal building, U.S. Capitol, by followers of the Donald. People that looked like him, not people that looked like me, people that looked like him, storming the Capitol, of which many of them are in prison right now. Many of them are serving time for that incident. But people still want the Donald to be president. You know, some people are giving this notion that he's done more for people that look like me. Okay. Where's the evidence? Where's the evidence? People keep giving these generalizations of what the Donald has done. Hell, what has sloppy Joe Biden done? You know? And then we have all these wars going on. And that we're paying for. Our tax dollars are paying for our participation in all of these wars. Whether it's the Israeli-Palestinian war, the holy war that's been going on for decades. This is nothing new. And our political figures and media, mainstream media, want us to hate Palestinians and love Euro-Jewish people. But it appears that the Israeli people, they're killing their own people. They're killing their own people. Holy war, which is an oxymoron. People that are warring or having war over whose religion uh, favors them more. And on top of that, we see about who's in control. This is about control as well. We have this ongoing war between Ukraine and Russia that we're helping to fund as far as military weaponry and arms, right? I mean, a couple of episodes ago, I read to you some excerpts from War is a Racket 2 about how America, is the largest arms dealer in the world. Us, America. We manufacture the guns and the bullets and the grenades, and then we sell them off to other countries so they can have their respective wars and tear their respective countries apart, limb from limb, city by city, street by street. I mean, innocent men, women, and children are losing their lives over these wars that are pretty much all about power and control. That's what all wars are about: power and control. Power and control, power and control. Not about money, power and control of the people and the properties of the people. That's what it's about: control. As I've always said, because I've interviewed the parents of war veterans or the parents of military personnel that have passed away, whether it's through combat or through drug overdosing. So war is not good for anyone but the people that fund it. That's who it's good for. What's the song by Edwin Starr? War. What is it good for? Absolutely nothing. Especially if you're a soldier. So, because the soldiers don't benefit. Only the people that fund war and capitalize off of war. Yeah, they benefit. So that's political. In the entertainment world, and this whole thing about anti-Semitic or anti-Semitism, again, the more we keep watching the news media tell us that the term anti-Semitism is some ugly word that only applies to those of Euro-Jewish descent. If you say the word anti-Semitism, that oh gosh, do I even really want to even go into that? Because it only applies to Euro-Jewish people. Most black people or people of my complexion understand who the original Jewish people are. Because in the regions, or what the region is called, the Middle East, history tells us that these were people that lived of darker skin tone because of the region of the earth. Not Euro-Jewish people, not the people of Poland and France and Germany, not the people that Hitler tried to destroy. No, not them. So we need to stop really using the term anti-Semitism when it comes to black people here in America disagreeing with certain activities of Euro-Jewish people. And if we happen to disagree with some of the things that they do, because it's no secret, they are in power, the majority of them. They control the media outlets. They control the things that you listen to and watch, and control the music that you listen to. Yeah. I mean, this is stuff that Kanye West talked about a couple of years back. Same thing they tried to get with Kyrie Irving when they tried to call him anti-Semitic. Most black folks, if they've learned anything remote about history, knows that there's no way that we can be anti-Semitic, because if we're anti-Semitic, we're anti ourselves. General American society. And this just creates more division, as we can see. More Jewish businesses are being vandalized and broken into. And it ain't by us. No, we don't do that kind of stuff. Not to Jewish people. No. For a number of reasons. And again, this is no knock on anyone's religious practice or cultural practice. To each his own, live and let live. But all these different buzzwords and catchphrases, all it's been doing for decades is causing division. And in America, I thought that America wasn't supposed to be about division. It's supposed to be about unity. So again, unity. When you have political parties, Republican and Democrat, one or the other, that creates division by default. Moving along, because politics, I could stay on that for another half an hour. I'm going to move to entertainment for the next few minutes, and then I'm going to wrap up here because a lot has been going on in the entertainment world. The big thing would be Cat Williams making Shannon Sharpe very, very famous within the last week with an interview that he gave that was very telling and very candid. Very candid. And so candid that it's been creating a firestorm between who's telling the truth and who's not telling the truth, and who's dodging the truth, and people that don't want to admit to the truth. So we see many celebrities. We just saw a couple of weeks ago, Taraji Henson. We had this remake of The Color Purple. And we saw Taraji Henson, a great actress that's been around since Baby Boy in 2001. And she, 20 some years later, is telling us that Hollywood isn't compensating her accordingly to her body of work. She's pretty much getting compensated as if she were doing Baby Boy all over again as a new actress. I've said this over and over again. Why are we and why are they continuing to depend on Hollywood to validate them in their craft? Why? Why are we waiting for Warner Brothers and Sony and Paramount, Columbia? Why? New Line Cinema. We saw what New Line did to the Friday franchise. But we're still waiting for them to give us our just due and validate our talents for the craft of acting, whether it's television or film. And so more and more people are buzzing about the inside business dealings of Hollywood. And again, going back to who controls Hollywood. Who controls Hollywood? Who controls Hollywood? For the most part, it's not people that look like me. No. It's more of the people that look like the people I just mentioned. Euro-Jewish people or groups. They control Hollywood, and it's no secret. You know, I think Minister Louis Farrakhan has I think it's still pending, a $400 lawsuit against the I want to make sure I got this right. I want to say ACU, but I want to make sure I got this right. Ay, ay, ay. And just bear with me real quick because I want to make sure I got this correct. But yeah, he has a lawsuit currently as we speak for for lawsuit. And I want to say, who is this against? What's the name of this organization? And it's for anti-Semitism allegations. But the minister, Louis Farrakhan, the leader of the Nation of Islam, filed a lawsuit going back to the anti-Semitic labeling that's put on, or that's been put on him for decades. I mean, I can't even tell you how many times he's been called an anti-Semite. An anti-Semite. But yeah, he has a lawsuit pending right now for $400. Oh gosh, I have to come back to this because it's not coming up right now. But it's from an organization, a Jewish organization. I think it's one of the same organizations that Kyrie Irving had a issue with as well a couple of years back during the pandemic when he didn't want to take the jab. But going back to who's in control? Who's in control? Right? Who's in control? We see other celebrities that are in hot water right now. I've already mentioned Sean Combs and all the hot water that he's in. And now we have one of his friends, if you will, Bishop T.D. Jakes. The Bishop T.D. Jakes. People are starting to expose him for who he truly is as a bishop. Allegations. I won't get into all of them for the sake of time, but many religious leaders are coming forward to tell some truths about Bishop T.D. Jakes and how he runs his religious operation, his mega church. What does he call it? Potter House. That's what he calls it, Potter House. So for those that are T.D. Jakes followers, or those that have been T.D. Jakes followers for the last 2 decades plus, get ready for some telling information that some religious people may not even want to entertain because it may sound so unbelievable to them, right? Unbelievable to them. So Sean Combs, and we knew something was going to happen with him with when Jimmy Kimmel had him on his show and asked him about his ordeal with Jada Pinkett Smith and Will Smith and their indecent proposal of wanting to have sexual relations with his then girlfriend, Jennifer Lopez. And obviously this was something that Sean Combs wasn't expecting. You can go back and look at the clip. I mean, he was literally stopped in his tracks. But on the other hand, it appears that Mr. Jimmy Kimmel is on this infamous list of one Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein, you know, the one that they claim committed suicide in prison, and um, for his misconduct with underage girls. And by the way, a couple of those girls, some of the early victims that came forward first, a couple of these victims came from Donald Trump's estate called Mar-a-Lago back in the 90s. That's where they came from. They were trafficked, if you will, to Jeffrey Epstein through Mar-a-Lago when they were still in their teen years, 16, 17. And all of this should be common knowledge by now. I mean, one of the first victims, actually, her name is Virginia Giuffre. I hope I'm saying that name correct. And if I'm not, my apologies to you, Virginia. But yeah, she's one of the first victims. And she told you, her and a couple of others came from Mar-a-Lago because they all used to work together there as massage therapists to pamper the well-to-do people that came to Mar-a-Lago or these lavish mansions in South Beach, Florida, or Palm Beach, Florida, one of those two. So yeah, the infamous list. And we see that the names that have been brought up the most have been William Jefferson Clinton, who I mentioned earlier, and former president, the Donald. And there are multiple pictures, and you can go anywhere and find them. They've been surfacing all over the place, of Jeffrey Epstein and his madam, Ghislaine Maxwell, who's in prison right now still, and the Donald and his current wife, Melania, all at the same parties, just partying it up. You can tell they've been boozing it up. But we also know of pictures of Prince Andrew and this lady here, Virginia Giuffre, when she was 15. It says she was 15 with Prince Andrew. And when you look at that interview that he did with the BBC a couple of years ago, you can tell he was just lying about everything that he had to say. His body language said it. His body language told the story. And there's nothing really that needs to be done or said that can convince anyone in their right mind that all the questions that were asked of him about these incidents and the pictures and all that, he's lying. You know, he acts like he never met the lady. You know, just like the Donald. You know, he's acting like he never knew any of those lawyers. You know, the 19 co-conspirators with the Georgia election. You know, he was like, oh, they never worked for me. They were never my lawyers. So yes, the infamous list. And most of the names that are being mentioned are things that were already revealed several months ago. We want to get to the other big fish that were going to this private island. What were they doing on this island? You know, one can only speculate. One can only speculate. But I mean, so many things are happening in the world, period. And I just mentioned a whole plethora of things that are going on. And we're just 9 days into the new year. And all of this is happening. 9 days into the new year. From health and COVID, you know, these cocktail shots that are being administered. Still, political season is heating up. And all of this can take your mind on a roller coaster, you know, if you're not grounded. And I've made it a point to keep myself as grounded as possible. So as I wrap up here, go to my YouTube channels. I didn't even mention this in the beginning like I always do, but go to my YouTube channels. One, The Kinetic Hour on YouTube at The Kinetic Hour. And that's Kinetic, K-E-N-N-E-T-I-C, The Kinetic Hour on YouTube at The Kinetic Hour. And Kinetic Fit and Wellness Info. Go to YouTube and just type in at Kinetic Fit. And you'll see all kind of information about health and wellness and mental health and suggestions and scenarios and things to consider about how all of us can keep ourselves mentally or psychologically healthy. So go to my YouTube channels. I'm going to have more guests. I'm going to be doing more of these podcasts. I love doing this since 2014 now. I've been doing this off and on now since 2014. And I love it, you know. So now that I'm doing this on my own, the Kinetic Hour, I'm going to do my best to bring on more guests to talk about all of these subjects, all of them. And more guests to come, more information to come, more of the Kinetic Hour. So tell anyone and everyone that you know to tune in to the Kinetic Hour with your host, myself, Kenan Wesley Mason. And I'm going to do the best that I can to bring you the best, no matter who my guest is. And we're going to make it good. We're going to make it great. And we're going to make it fun. So go to my YouTube channels, The Kinetic Hour and Kinetic Fit and Wellness Info. And all of you, take care of yourself in this new year. There's going to be a lot of things happening. There's going to be a lot of things happening in this new year. So just do the best that you can to stay grounded. Until next time.